What's going on, guys? My lord. It has been quite a feat getting all this stuff worked out. I think getting close is quite an experience trying to transfer material from several different computers and trying to consolidate wires and clean up things and just trying to make this space also more efficient and more ergonomic and all that stuff too, because if you're gonna spend the money and try to improve your work environment, there's no sense in having a bunch of mismatched crap and a bunch of if you're using expensive equipment and you don't spend more than $4 or $5 on your cables, you're pretty limited in what you're going to be able to get for audio quality. So, hey, what up, Q? Good to see you, bro. And it's just one of those things, you don't want to spend that money to get the cables right and to get stuff to organize things and whatnot. But man, when you get to that point where everything that you've implemented is starting to feel right, I don't believe in coincidences necessarily. I feel like if coincidences happen in a pattern, then they're not coincidences anymore. And if this is your first time to my channel, my name's Will, and you didn't find me by accident. So we can talk about coincidences and it's just one of those things that you just find yourself saying way too often. Man, I felt like something like that was going to happen, or man, I knew that was going to happen, or that's weird that I just ran into this person when I was thinking about that person. And it's like a collective consciousness, I feel like everybody that is in tune with the same vibes, the same kind of energies and stuff, we all find each other. And man, I could go down the list of everybody that supports me. I mean, yes, I do help people and stuff where I can. But to me, it's just a simple give and take relationship, any relationship, right? It's always a two-way street. And if it's not a two-way street, let me know early so I can get out and move on and find something better to do with my time. I'm feeling pretty comfortable right here. So this is great for me. I've got something behind me where I can work over here, and then the GoPro's back over here, and then I've also got the ability now with this computer to share my screen. So it's gonna be really cool. I'm really excited. Right now, I'm just gonna basically what I have right here, I just made just now, within the last 5 minutes. It's just a couple loops. It's 4 loopers, and then they've got a bunch of effects and stuff on them. So I'm just gonna erase them, and just mess around with some stuff, because I got my vocoder. I made a really cool. Actually, I made a couple. Q, you know what I'm talking about. I made a couple patches on the Mini Nova, and the vocoder is pretty. Uh, it's pretty devilish sounding. So I want to like. Plus this. When I saw this at Walmart, the first thing I thought of, besides I don't want to do any calculus right now, is MIDI controller. Like, this is just a regular number pad, USB number pad, and it was like $4 or $5. I saw this thing and I'm like, man, this is a MIDI controller for sure, So now I got it mapped to a couple loopers, and I can clear it. I can go over there. I can carry it with me. Plus, we've got a couple iPads and stuff, but I just want to mess around with this thing and see what I can do with it. So that's really what this is about. I'm like kind of debating whether or not to start another channel, because really this is therapy. Like, this for me, not the headache of the routing things and setting up stuff, but the active part of making music and like just being involved with other people and their music. This is all therapy for me. A lot of us are like that. This is like how we cope with things. And in my situation, I have a lot of free time on my hands because I got an illness that prevents me from being able to do certain things. So I'm going to use my time the best I can. That's why I'm always in here. I am not kidding you. Q, tell them. I'm like never, we all chat. I'm like never out of the studio. I'm always here. So I want this to be something that I can continue on, and even like maybe even leave a stream up, and the stream, the chat can be open and people can just come in and I'll do stuff and whatever, and we can chat. I've learned a lot. So, shout out to Phil, Mr. Phil back. Q, shout out to Q. I could go down the list. I know I'm gonna end up leaving tons of people out, but CX, the producer, like people that have my back. I just wanna say thanks to everybody that has my back. My wife and my daughter. It's just growth. We do things, we learn things, we grow, and hopefully, eventually you can share things that you've learned and help people that have, a similar path ahead of them, that you can maybe pass something along. And life stuff too. I was living in a homeless shelter, a few years before I married my wife. That's where she met me. She met me in a homeless shelter. So coming up, I grew up in trailer parks. Nothing wrong with that. Like I'm just a neighborhood kid running around with a bloody nose. Stealing bike parts and trying to build a bike. That was me, taking stuff apart, not putting it back together. One time, unrelated, me and my brother, I got a little brother, he's like 6 years younger than me, but man, we used to raise hell. And one time, we won't go into the graphic details of toilet stories, but let's just say the toilet overflowed, okay? And it wasn't me. So my mother gets home just as this is happening, and my little brother, who at the time, I was 15, so whatever, 8, 9, he starts flushing the toilet like crazy because he doesn't want my mom to come in when all this is happening, and the thing just starts overflowing, and my mom got so mad. She chased us, and we were living in a trailer, right? So she chased us down this long hallway. Well, to me, it seemed huge, you know? It's just like one hallway, but it seemed huge. And get to my bed in my bedroom, you know, me and my brother, and we dove over the bed onto the other side of the bed. And we're hiding down on the other side, and she takes her shoe off. I lift up my head. My brother's ducking. I lift up my head, and my mother throws the shoe as hard as she can right at me. She goes, "You little bastards!" And she wings the shoe at me, and I ducked, and it missed me and broke the window. And my mother was pissed. She was so pissed. And me and my brother could not stop laughing. It was the most horrible thing you can do as kids. Just laugh in your mother's face. But, you know, what do you do when you're growing up in... I was in Stetson, Maine. Population 100, maybe. So, man, we used to go cow tipping. And like, not really, but we would call it cow tipping. We'd go and run in and run through the fields and try and find mushrooms and just do stupid stuff. You know, it's a country kid stuff. Climbing trees, making rope swings, jumping on trains, like riding on trains. You know, they had to shut the system down. I'm not talking about like Subway here. I'm talking about freight trains with loaded cargo. We're jumping on these things and riding them forever. And they actually couldn't, we couldn't get off. We got on, but the thing got going so fast that we couldn't get off. And the police had to chase down the train to let us off. They had to stop the train to let us off. Terrible kids. I don't want to tell them all, but when I was in like 2nd or 3rd grade, I caused a forest fire that almost burnt down our entire town. Now, you know, like kids play with matches and stuff like that. But I was like burning holes in my rug, and like it was terrible. And I guess I was a little pyro. I don't know. I think I was just looking for something to do. Like I want to like do stuff, you know. But let me see who's in here. Let's see if there's anybody here. Oh, what up, Mr. Basic? Good to see you, my man. I should probably say hi in the chat, like type it or something. So I also want to just say that now that I'm at this place where things are finally feeling like they're going to work out. Now, I did a stream a couple days ago as a test, and the problem was I was trying to do everything on my new computer. I was running OBS and you know, YouTube. I was streaming, running Ableton session with all these effects and everything. And I was having these crazy sounds, like this distorted, metallic, like crazy sound. And so what I decided to do was reintegrate the laptop, which I was using to stream with before. Yeah, so over here, I had put my laptop away because I just wanted to try to consolidate everything into one system. And I think that it's going to be a process to get everything into one system. For now, I want to get back to what I was planning to do the whole time, which is bring people onto the channel, have cool like live streams, do music, but also talk about gear and stuff like that with other people, bring guests on board. I do have a bunch of guests that I've already talked to. They're probably just wondering where the hell I'm at and when this is happening. So this is all, you know, gonna start getting coordinated at this point. Now that I can focus on other things, you know, this is gonna be a much easier workflow now, because now I can use the extra capture card, because I've got this, which is my switcher. But in this new computer, I had a 1080p 60 frames per second capture card installed, so that I can do like Skyping on one end and then send it into the feed with the switcher so that I can try and merge things and do some different configurations. So it will be cool. At least cool, you know, I don't know, content wise, I guess it's debatable. Are we all like, I don't know. I mean, I don't consider myself cool at all. I think if you do, you're kind of lame. But anyway, so I'm just gonna see. Just give me a couple minutes, because this is what happens: is you start to get into the flow. I have two sides of my brain that work, and they do not work together. So I have an analytical portion, scientific portion, which is what I'm using right now, because I'm speaking, and speaking means thinking. So then I can get back over to the creative stuff. So it just takes me like a minute or two to start to feel things. So just give me a minute or two and let me kind of vibe it out a little bit. I'm going to make some patches on the fly. All this is on the fly, so I don't prepare anything. That's part of the allure of like improvising, is I don't have right now, I will eventually, I don't have a way that I'm monitoring sounds before you guys hear them. So you're hearing me test sounds out in real time. And because my mixer is Wi-Fi, it's got a Wi-Fi router, I can use my iPad to mute and solo mix outs and stuff. So I can I can mute the mix out temporarily to the stream, and then test sounds out, which only I'll hear coming off my monitors back there. And then when I'm ready to go, I'll just unmute it, and then you guys will hear it. But for now, I'm just kind of feeling it out. So that's it. And I'll just see if there's anybody asking me any questions, or you guys just chatting. All right, cool. I'm glad that I got some audio. That's good. So let's just get in and do something. Okay. I gotta erase that one. So I got my other little controller now over here, which is pretty cool, because I can just take this with me into the back. So yeah, I think I'm gonna program a drum pattern and go from there. Mic's going off. something. It was cool. Whoop. Damn, I was on backside the whole time. Dang. All right. I got to figure that one out. All right. So that was at least working. That's what I'm hoping for. And you know what? There were no problems. I mean, workflow problems, but that's just practice. I didn't have any bugs. I knew where everything was, and yeah, so I think it's going to be all right. And hopefully I'll be able to integrate this computer a little bit better. Um, you know, I want to be able to just like have everything coming on one, but it's all good either way. So yeah. So anything good out there? Anybody got any cool news that I need to know about? Because gear wise, I've been out of the loop, focusing on getting all this stuff set up. And when I'm like researching things and studying equipment and learning and stuff like that, I'm pretty much focused on what I'm doing. So like that whole RC 101, 707 stuff, that kind of just went all over my head. And I think that like at some point in time, it kind of looks, I've said this before, like when you're buying equipment in the beginning, it can kind of look, it depends. There's two types of people, I guess. Are you a compulsive buyer, or do you just not know what you need? Or the other thing is you buy what you can, get it where you can get it, if you find, like I was definitely for a while buying equipment based off of need first, then deals. Like I wasn't ever stuck on brand or style, or like if it was cool or not, or any of that stuff. What I needed to know was, does it do this, and this? If so, I'll try it. And then if it doesn't work out, I'll just resell it and get something else. And I never buy stuff new. Everything I buy is like secondhand, so the margins are a lot better and you don't lose out. You don't lose out when you buy something. I mean, if you buy something new, as soon as you open it, it's like devalued. So unless you're planning to keep something, for sure that you're buying something that you'll never get rid of, then it's a good investment, because then you're the only one that's ever touched it. That kind of stuff. So oh, the Hydrosynth, I did see the Hydrosynth, and I did see, I was checking out the Summit a while ago, but I know that the Summit was released, or at least people had been testing it and whatnot. The last real synth that I was excited about, like really excited about, was Deckard's Dream. And because a CS80 for me would be the ultimate purchase, like end all be all, I'll put it on this desk and I'll get rid of everything else. I have enough equipment right now. If I would sell everything, I could buy one. But I don't, that's not really, the CS80s are, they start at like 15, 20 grand, and I think I will get one eventually. I'll get there. But the Deckard's Dream is feasible if I, it's basically like a 1.5 to 2 year purchase for me. Like if I was able to put money aside for about that time, I think I could make it work. But I think that you figure out what you like to do workflow wise, and you realize it actually has nothing to do with the equipment. It's everything to do with how you use your stuff, where you use it, how you feel using it. That's everything. Everything. It's absolutely everything. your equipment will help that move along depending on what it does. And if you're specifically looking for, MIDI integration, then don't get an MPC-X because an MPC-X will not record MIDI on multiple channels assignable. So if you want to record 3 instrument MIDI tracks, you have to do them one at a time. You can't just record them and have them on separate tracks. On the Deluge, you can. So the Deluge is my multi-timbral MIDI recorder. It's also like a virtual MIDI patch bay. I've got a patch bay in the back. I got a Mio 10 to route everything together. But if you want sequencing, then a Deluge is your go-to. If you want to do sampling, then you're gonna want something that has like if you're new to sampling or if you're used to a certain workflow, then maybe an MPC would be good for you. Touchscreen for me isn't even a big deal because I don't really even use it. So like for me, all I need to be able to do is get the samples in manually. So don't get a Force. The Force will not chop samples manually to pads. So don't get a Force if you want to chop samples manually onto pads. You can chop samples on the Force manually, but you have to use the touchscreen. You have to tap the little slice button, and that puts a slice marker. And then you can turn that into a program. So it's all about workflow. It's all about what are you looking for? There's nothing that really does everything. There's nothing that does everything as well as each individual piece of equipment has for its strong suit. So with Ableton, you're getting the power of a computer, obviously. With a Push, I should say. You're getting the power. So depending on how badass you build your computer, I just built this thing last week. It's got an i9 9900K processor, 32 gigabytes of RAM. I got a 256 SSD as the first drive, a terabyte SSD for the second drive, and a 2 terabyte hard drive as the third drive. And they're Samsung Evo 970s. I've got all kinds of USB ports, and I got a capture card and all that stuff. So you build that, and then you can run your Ableton session, but now OBS isn't really working well at the same time. I probably need to do some optimization. So I'm going to use the laptop for the streaming purposes for now. But if you with the Force, what the Force does really well is the quickness in which you can program sounds, because you have the touchscreen and you have you got 8 knobs, Q-Link knobs, but everything is really quick and easy on the Force to program things. You can't do it the same way on the X as you can on the Force. The Force has a menu that's just better. The sensitivity on the screen is better. It's just a better use of it. That is the best synthesizer, virtual synthesizer, I feel like that there is on the market. The Force is the best virtual synthesizer. Yes, you can do some things, and then we got other things happening with the beta and all that. So you will get push workflow out of a Force. But in my opinion, this is just my opinion, they're never going to allow us to do everything on any one of these machines. That kind of kills the business model, but it's just my opinion. If you're a business person, you want somebody to go and buy the X, then you want them to go and buy the Force. But if you make them both do exactly the same things, then you probably won't sell as many of each one. So, and oh Jesus! But then you got stuff all over the place, and you can just by accident cause a damn ear puncture. But straight synthesis though, straight synthesis, the Rev 2, 16 voice Prophet Rev 2, and the Prophet 6 up in the back are two of the best sounding synthesizers I've ever heard in my life. Especially the Prophet 6. I tend to use the Rev 2 a lot more, but that's because it's right next to me and the knobs, and it has keys. It has a key bed, and the Prophet 6 is a module. So let me just, oh, you guys are chatting and stuff, so let me just see what's up. Yes, I think you're right. Hey, what up, Q? I think you're right, man. I think if I also upgraded my internet. So like now I'm at I had 30 I was streaming before last week I was streaming with 6 megabytes per second upload speed. That's all I had in my house. I had 36 download, 6 upload. And so I went from 36 download to 980 now. So I got a gig basically. And now I got 40 megabytes per second upload speed. So it's like the fastest you can get around here. So I can push a lot of like signal. So 2 computers should be no problem whatsoever. And I think that's the way I'm going to have to do it. I probably will still try to do everything on one, but I'm also noticing what happens is when I have my screen split into 4 sections and I've got Ableton on one corner, I've got OBS in another corner, I've got my my streaming mixer software in another corner, and then I got YouTube pulled up in the bottom corner. So what I notice is that when I go to click on like the chat or whatever, so I use the mouse and click on the chat so I can type something in. When I go back to Ableton and go to do something, I got nothing because I've got this keyboard is mapped to the controls. So unless I take my mouse and go and click back on the Ableton header, I can't use it. So I'm better off having one computer just doing music and then another computer doing the software for OBS and the streaming mixer and YouTube. So my whole like the whole purpose and the goal in the beginning was just to replace this desktop for Ableton and just build a beast so I can put a bunch of effects on it. Then I was starting to think like, well, maybe I can do streaming and this and blah blah blah. So I built it purposefully. It was purpose built for music, not specifically for streaming. I'm hardwired with internet. I don't even have the Wi-Fi connected to this desktop, so I never really even planned to do the streaming thing with it. So I think I'm just gonna go with what I got. It does look cool though. It's got like all the lights and all that stuff, which I wasn't really trying to go with all the lights and everything, but I guess once you have them, it's like you might as well like try and use them. So that's pretty cool. But I guess that's it. I just wanted to come out here and I want to make this a normal thing, and it's going to be possible when I have everything set up now. So getting back into some of the tutorials and whatnot, but I also want to do, like I said, this is for a lot of us, we do everything else in our life so that we can do this, like we work and we have family obligations and we do this and we do that so that we can do music. And yeah, it's like an old friend, it's always there. You can always express yourself and be who you want to be yourself, and that's all that really matters. So anyway, everybody, if you're seeing my channel for the first time, my name is Will again, and there's a lot of good people that'll be coming through, so please come back. And if you have any topics you want to discuss or any equipment that you want me to like give you my opinion about, I can. I don't usually talk a lot about problems in gear because I just find it's better to focus on positives. If you don't like something, just sell it rather than complain about it. So I normally don't really do like, if I do reviews, tutorials, and stuff, I try to focus on the good things that I can use and pass that knowledge along. If there's something like terrible, then yeah, I will definitely like MIDI. The fact that MPC-X cannot do multi-timbral MIDI input is a travesty. It's an absolute travesty. My MPC 1000 could do it. So yeah, that's that. But anyway, it's been a good night for me. I'm happy that everything is going well. And yeah, I'll be talking to everybody later. Peace, everybody.